Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for attending Pointit's Search Engine Optimization 101 webinar. My name is Eric Leyland. I'm a Vice President and co-founder here at Pointit, and we'll be going over a number of high-level topics related to search engine optimization. Today's agenda, we're going to look at SEO and where it fits into the larger search marketing landscape. We're going to do a brief introduction into SEO, some of the key factors that you need to be aware of, where to start your SEO project, reviewing some select resources, and then we'll finish up with a Q&A session. So, the elements of search marketing. There's been a lot of talk in the marketing press of late about dollars shifting from traditional means to means of media and marketing that are much more trackable and that ROI is more discernible. Search engine marketing certainly fits that element of marketing where much of it is to a very granular level, trackable and measurable. Search engine optimization, I'd say, is arguably a foundation of your search marketing campaign, and this involves improving the visibility of content within your site so that when users do queries that are relevant to your product or services, your rankings are elevated, and ideally that translates into a click and then a visit onto the site that is from a high-value targeted audience member. Pay-per-click advertising is another highly targeted method of attracting an audience. This is what you hear about with Google, Yahoo, and MSN, and the paid links. We'll talk a little bit about that more. Social media marketing is emerging and has really come out of SEO, search engine optimization, and it's listening to and engaging with your audience at the early stages of the purchase consideration cycle. Online reputation management stems from a lot of the user-generated content that is out and being created today. Some of it is good, some of it is bad, and when it's associated with your brand, you certainly want it to be as positive as possible. And then measurement and analytics. This is sort of what ties it all together and really delivers on the value and promise of online marketing, is being able to measure it, analyze it, make decisions based from what is found. So this visual encapsulates sort of the concept where social media marketing being at the top of the funnel, SEO further down the funnel where individuals are doing research and consuming content related to issues that they're having that they want to solve, hopefully with a purchase or acquisition of some type of remedy for their situation. And then pay-per-click, which is a little bit further down the funnel, although it can certainly enhance from the very earliest research phases to a very direct response generated or oriented campaign. At the end, we have customers. When you have customers, you're going to have issues with support and feedback, and that's where the online reputation management comes in. Again, it's the being proactive, engaging with the audience, making sure that when there are issues that come up, as frequently does, that they are being addressed and the audience knows about it. If you have some detractors, maybe those detractors can be turned around by seeing that you are proactive and taking action and then become fans of yours. But it's certainly, as there is more and more proliferation of user-generated content, online reputation management is gaining in importance. And then we go over to the right-hand side of the screen, analytics. Again, analytics sort of ties this all together, being able to look at the impact, be able to discern from that data new courses of action if that's needed, or furthering existing courses of action by putting more resources into it. Again, it's having that data turn into information and then making action steps from that. So let's get into the search engine elements here. Anatomy of a SERP, and essentially that is a search engine results page, just an acronym that we use here. But the search engine results page has a couple of different components. At the very top, you'll notice Google logo and then a search field. We use Google a lot as a reference, but it's very much the same for Yahoo and MSN. Then across the top in the sort of peach-colored off-color area, those are paid search ads, and they typically will go along the top, and there can be anywhere from 0 to 1, 2, or 3 positions. This example has 2, and then those search ads continue along the right-hand column of the page. In that middle 2/3 of the page are organic search listings, and this is really what we're going to be talking about today, is how we can put our best foot forward and get listed on ideally the top part of the first page of results. So looking at this a little bit more closely, again, we've got the search bar on top, and we're here in Seattle, so I've input here Starbucks coffee as a search, and looking at a couple of the different variations of listings that come up. The top one, the longish horizontal ad, is a paid ad, and then some samples of additional paid ads over on the right-hand side, and you'll see that they tend to be a little bit more promotional in tone. Often there's pricing or a special offer, some sort of encouragement to take action. For instance, in these examples here, you have the checkout buttons that indicate that these are e-commerce programs that are using Google's checkout technology. In the below this middle ad, we have 2 of the natural listings, one for Starbucks homepage, and there's a couple of components here. You've got the headline, a description, a URL, some site links below. We'll go into each of these a little bit more detail later. And what's important to know is that Google will create these descriptions based upon their algorithm and how, in reviewing of your content and the URLs, how that is associated with the search query. Down at the bottom, we have a bit more traditional search result, what we typically see, but again, it has the headline, a display tag, and then a URL. So how does it work? Well, search engines have what are called spiders in the industry, but it's really just a piece of software that goes out, it crawls the web, bounces from site to site through links, and along the way collects pieces of information, and those information about each site and page that it goes to develop a profile. That profile becomes an index and is weighted by the various factors and technologies that each search engine has, and it's stored in a database, and then when a user, you or me or anyone else, goes on to Google, Yahoo, MSN, or their favorite search engine and types in a query string, that string of text will trigger a listing of pages that the search engine has weighted and is displaying in order of relevance. That's the basic anatomy of search and a search engine results page. So you're probably thinking, well, that's great, Eric, but how do I make it work for me? And that's certainly what we're here for today. Again, not getting real deep into specific tactics, but some high-level issues that you certainly should be aware of as you proceed on an SEO project. So vital considerations, and I know this page looks like a mess. There's a lot going on, and it's intended to be that way. What's important is that what's in the forefront, and we'll start with the left, is these people, your audience. That is your #1 consideration when pursuing an SEO program, is who is your audience, what are they looking for, what do you offer that addresses those needs. Over to the right-hand side, this stuff, that's the HTML, the code behind the visual presentation of your page, and that is certainly important as well. What we're going to get into as we talk about on-page factors. There's 2 different elements where you focus on. One is your on-page or on-site factors, and one is off-page factors. Also important here is the competition. In the search landscape, and you're probably all aware of this, is that the competition is very unique. You may have competitors that sell similar products or services and are targeting the same keywords as you are, and these are your direct competitors. But there are also other companies, other firms that may be seeking essentially the same shelf space in search queries based upon keywords that may actually have nothing to do with your particular brand, your products or services. For instance, if we recently came across a company that shares a very similar name with a global brand of shoes, yet this particular company does very sophisticated silicon chip design. Just so happens again that they share a common name, and so in essence, when this name is queried, is it an individual looking for custom designed silicon chips, or is it somebody looking for running shoes? That's a factor of competition that most of us don't have. In the background here, you see Google, and Google is always lurking in the background in everything we do with search marketing, and that's why it's represented here. It's also being 70% of the market, where most of your emphasis needs to go. Now, saying that, our recommendations are typically to focus on optimizing with best practices in mind for Google, and Yahoo and MSN will come along. That's not always the case. There are some factors where Yahoo and MSN have unique attributes that need to be taken into consideration. But one thing to keep in mind when it comes to time and effort and level of investment is MSN and Yahoo are maybe at the high end 20% of the market. So you do have to make some considerations. Is it worth justifying that effort to go after 20% of the market, or do you put your emphasis on Google? So on-page factors. I talked about this just a moment ago, referred to this. And some of the elements that we're going to talk about today are keyword targeting, page title tags, meta description tags, improving your URL structure, and site navigation and architecture issues. And we'll go over each of one of these in a little bit more detail. So keyword research. This is really where it all begins. If you've not done keyword research before, this is really a great time to really learn about how others may think about your particular product or service and how they describe it for themselves without taking your brand into consideration or before the brand has entered their consideration set. And so where do we want to start? Well, like many great ideas, it starts with brainstorming. And not just with yourself as owner of the SEO project, but you want to talk to customers, also your coworkers, any of the constituents that may have some influence or knowledge about the product or brand, and get their insights. At this point, we're just collecting a lot of different ideas. Also, visit your competitors that are ranking well, or even maybe not so well, and get a list of terms that are relevant for your vertical. What's really important, though, is to take the marketer hat off. Oftentimes we develop almost tunnel vision about what our brand is and what it's about. And in search marketing, we really have to put ourselves in the position of the audience. What are they looking for? What type of situation are they involved in that they want to address, and does your brand address it? And so it's often thinking about how would you describe that situation or the solution. It's not always, they're not always going to type in brand ABC if they're looking for a particular product. They might describe it in a way that maybe you're not familiar with. And what's important is that if you're speaking and you have a solution for their particular problem that they're looking to address, that you address it as directly as possible and speak their language. One other way to look at keywords to help with the keyword brainstorming exercise is to look at analytics. If your current website has an analytics package, it most likely has a feature that allows you to look at raw queries. And raw queries are the complete text that was typed into a search bar that resulted in someone visiting your site. And this is a great source to look at how real users describe a particular issue that they end up taking action and visiting your site. If you do not have an analytics package, Google Analytics is a tremendous program that's for free, and I would recommend that you install it and just start collecting data. Collect data for a few weeks, or maybe a month or so, and it might sound a little intimidating. It's very easy to install, very intuitive to navigate and really see what users are doing when they come onto your site and how they find your site. As you've developed sort of your brainstorm level of keywords, you can take it to the next step and use a number of tools that are available online. Many of them are free or for very low cost. Google has a great keyword tool that also introduces some cyclicality. It will give you a visual as far as high months and low months, and offer estimated search volume per month for any number of searches, from very broad searches, to which I probably might not be as ideal to target for SEO, to very specific searches. Keyword Tracker has been around for a long time. You might consider it the godfather of keyword research. And while it is a small fee is required, it introduces an idea called KEI, which is Keyword Effectiveness Index. And what this does is give you some idea about how competitive terms are. And this is very important because you don't want to put in a lot of time and energy on a keyword trying to optimize it that realistically you just don't have a chance of really getting into that first page of results. So it's important in helping allocate and decide where resources are going to go. Another one of note is SEOmoz.org, which offers a number of, I think, a suite of about 10 or 12 tools, also on a low monthly fee, and really insightful tools. And a lot of, also, they've developed a community with SEO experts, and that speak in plain terms, and it's just great to follow along these conversation threads and pick up tips and ideas about how to optimize your site. We'll not go over this list any further, but at the end of the presentation we have links to each of these tools as well as other resources. And just keep in mind that what's really important is that you do use a tool, try a number of them. They're often free sample 30-day trials, but find one you're comfortable with, and then when you're more comfortable with it, you will begin to adopt it further and use more of its features. But sample of a couple of them first. So keyword research, now what? You've got your list, you've used a couple of these tools to expand on it, now it's time to organize it. You want to organize it into a couple of different buckets based upon user type or user profile that is the highest value to you. You want to then begin to narrow and pare down that list and review it multiple times and really key on it. Who is the ideal visitor that I would like to attract to my site? What are they looking for? And keep on asking yourself that time and time again, and really try and pare down that list. Looking at the KEI values for relative competitiveness. And then when you get your list down to, hopefully it's into a manageable size of maybe something less than 100 or so, strong recommendation is to run a pay-per-click campaign. This is paid advertising, but you have quite a few controls that you can limit your expense so it's not going to hit the wallet too hard. But what you can do is really see what types of terms and ad copy results in visitors to your site. Then ideally you can bring this down into 15 to 25 keyword phrases that are really crucial, and this is where you begin your SEO effort. It's really not feasible to try and optimize your site for any untold number of keywords that might have some relevance. It's really focusing on that very core group that will bring in the highest value visitors to your site. Now we move from keywords into some of the code issues. And again, this is more of the on-site issues, going another level deeper into the actual structure of the site. So metadata, which is what we're going to talk about next, is data about data. When I mentioned about how the spider will go along and visiting site after site, picking up little tidbits of information about it, well, what it's doing is picking up metadata, and this is descriptive data about data. One of the key elements for Google, Yahoo, and MSN is page title. And this is when you open up your browser, it appears at the very top, and it is essentially a single sentence that describes the content of that page very succinctly. And it appears at the top. It's taken from the HTML, to the code of that page, and best practices are first to create a unique title for every single page of your site. Now, granted, you're not going to most likely complete this in an afternoon, but prioritize what are the most important pages, and then knock a few of these off over the course of a week or so, and really in no time at all you'll have unique titles for each page. You want to include a keyword, going back to these 15 to 25 words, a keyword or two, no more, that is unique to the content of that specific page. Avoid vague titles. Now sometimes if you may be doing your own web design or web development using a tool that has default page titles, sometimes home page, product page, category page. Get rid of the defaults and make sure that each page is customized. And typically what the search engines will look at is about the first 50 to 60 characters. Might go a little bit longer. If you go too long, it will truncate what is displayed, and that can have sort of a negative impact on the user experience. So keep it concise, keep it short, and really use powerful words in this particular page title tag. Meta description tag. Well, this meta description is roughly about a paragraph, and it summarizes the page in a little bit more detail. And it's the block of text that appears below the linked title tag on a SERP. Remember, that's the search engine results page. What you want to do is support the headline and work in 1 to 2 or 3 keywords. What is also important is that you may feel that you've developed a very precise, on-target meta page description. It's not completely within your control. Google will, when it displays the results, and other engines as well, will possibly select. They may select that page description title that you've developed. They may also cobble together pieces of content that it spiders on the page and put that together as a description. Alternatively, they may use even a backup source, such as a directory that it is using to supply backup descriptions. We'll get into that a little bit later, but the point is, best practices is craft unique descriptions. The more unique your description is, the more relevant and keyword rich it is, the more likely your description will be displayed versus Google picking one for you. Support the concept, make sure that these are synchronized, that's displayed in the page title, and do your best to influence it using HTML. And I've given a description here of what that particular meta tag looks like. It's called description. You look at the content, and the content is the actual description, but you want it to be keyword rich, describe products, and write it kind of like an ad. Include a call to action or a reason why someone should click on your position versus someone else's. Recommended character length is about 150 to 170. Again, if you go beyond this, the search engine will truncate it. And what's also vitally important is to not use keywords excessively. Repeating keyword after keyword is called keyword stuffing, and it may actually be a negative, and you would potentially be penalized by the search engines if you are keyword stuffing. So best practice is write it as if you're writing it for a human. That's always the best approach is when it comes to looking at your page descriptions, your title tags. Write it for a human, include relevant keywords, and be clear and concise. I have a few examples here. On the top is avg.com, which is a antivirus, anti-spyware software, and then below is Panda Security. And what's important, doing a search on antivirus software, the terms that are put into the search bar, if they show up in your description and your title tag, will be bolded, and that's going to catch the eye of the visitor and may influence them to click on a position that has more bolded terms than another listing, with the caveat that you're not keyword stuffing, and that's something that you definitely do not want to do. But what's important here, look at the headline at avg.com. There's a compelling incentive, AVG, free download. antivirus, bold, and anti-spyware software, also bold, for Windows. It's very specific, very specific. And then there's a call to action. Download the software. Windows, it's free. Join the millions, so it has a sort of a comforting message too that you're one of millions. It's a trusted piece of software that users use and utilize to protect their computers. It's concise, it's specific, it's a great title and description. Below it is another one where these guys didn't do a horrible job, but they really tried to cram too much in. You've got antivirus, anti-spyware, anti-spam firewall, protect yourself. Doesn't really stand out as something that's speaking specifically to me. It doesn't mention if am I a Mac user, am I a Windows user. Also in the description you'll see where there are the ellipses. This particular description has been cobbled together by Google. It has picked out some content that it thought was relevant, that the algorithm decided, okay, this seems to match up, and it may or may not be as relevant as Panda Security would like, but Google has determined that it's better than what is in the HTML page description. We have another example below, another term, belt buckles. Again, you've got, in this case, handcrafted belt buckles also bolds the URL, which is a nice, and looking at the headline, it comes across much stronger than the example below it. Again, try it with some keywords that are relevant to you and see what comes up with your site and your competitors. Improving the URL structure. This is important. One of the myths out there is that dynamic website is not going to be indexed by engines. It will be indexed, it's just not as easily done versus a HTML or static site. There's an example here is from Hewlett-Packard on a search for high-end servers, and the URL was the page that came up, this top URL, and it's just not very descriptive of looking for a search on high-end servers. So, if I'm an IT individual, I might be willing to spend a significant amount of money on a high-end servers, but I want to look for something that really speaks to what my query was. So I rewrote the URL string to really focus on what the query was about. So we have HP, we have servers, integrity, which is the specific brand or line of high-end servers from HP, and then when we get to the actual content page, it's HP high-end servers. It's very descriptive. So you want to work in keywords that are relevant and work those into your directory names. And also, we don't always control who links to us, and often a site owner might come across your particular site and say, this is relevant to my audience, I'd like to create a link for my audience, and they'll just pull that URL that shows up in the browser. Well, what we want to do is make sure that link is very descriptive of what the user is going to experience when they come onto our site. So this improves our our anchor text for links, and anchor text is the actual text that's highlighted in a link, and that's better for users and also better for the search engines, because the more clues that you can leave about what your content is about, the more the search engines will like what they see. And as I mentioned previously, is that keywords in URLs are highlighted on search engine results page, and that can influence users. Improving site navigation. A sitemap is probably a term that you have heard of. There's a distinction that needs to be made. There's really two types of sitemaps. First is an HTML page, and this is for on-site user navigation. It is a page that is going to be indexed by the search engines, so that's helpful, but its real intent is to help human users navigate the site if they choose to bypass the traditional navigation. The other sitemap is purely for the engines, and this is an XML sitemap. This is a web standard. You can actually have your XML sitemaps created online. I've included a link here to xml-sitemaps.com. And what an XML sitemap is essentially a map of your site for search engines to index. and it looks very similar to HTML. XML is a derivative of it of sorts, but it is intended for the search engines. You create this file, and then the file is submitted to Google, to Yahoo, and to MSN, and this really facilitates their crawling of your site. It's actually quite important. Also, to improve site navigation is organize your content in a hierarchy, starting with more broad general concepts and get more granular as the information is drilled down into by users. Really try to have a strong organization structure to your site, and use text for navigation. Flash and Java navigation can really hinder search engines. They don't interpret it. So what we recommend is that using text, and also introduce breadcrumb navigation, which we've given an example below of Acme products, widgets, and industrial strength widgets. This also helps your internal linking structure by using links that are keyword rich, and that helps also with internal navigation, as not only just for users, but again with the search engines benefit as well, as they say, okay, if I follow this link about widgets and it takes me to industrial strength widgets, that's within the same context. That makes sense, and that helps with the overall indexing of your site. Now we're going to move into some of the off-page essentials for SEO. We've got 3 elements here. Most of them of off-page elements ultimately come down to increasing the number of links which point to your particular site. So link building. What is link building? Well, it's acquiring inbound links from relevant and reputable sites that target your audience. And what the essence of link building is going out to find sites that are maybe influencers or thought leadership within your space, maybe the market leaders for particular products or services, or highly influential review sites or editorial sites. And particularly, this is really what set Google apart back in the day as they were building up and building their algorithm, is that Google viewed a link to your site as a vote of confidence by another site. And then they went one step further and said, okay, well, not only are we looking at the links that are coming inbound directly to a site, but the links that link into that linking site. So there's 2 levels here, and the Google algorithm is looking for both longevity in URL. There's a number of other factors that are beyond the scope of this discussion, but really get to the relevancy and importance of that particular website that's linking to you. So the objective here is to get links from relevant sites. Why? Well, engines like the links drive traffic, and links improve visibility. And it's really heavy emphasis on the quality of these inbound links. One of the elements that you can undertake to influence is distribution and creation of high quality content. Creating content that is relevant to your users, that's value to your users, and also when it comes to pursuing link partnerships, identify those websites and properties that you would most like to receive a link from, and really pursue them as if it was a business development exercise. Get on the phone, see if you can get a hold of the marketing manager or the website owner or the webmaster, and present your case as to why you think the content of your site would be relevant to their audience, and that it would be beneficial for them to improve their audience's experience to include a link to your particular website. So, continuing on the link building, sources of good links, the long-established or URLs with a long history. You can determine the history of a URL by going to whois.net, and you can type in a URL, and that will give you the length of time that that particular URL has been active. You can also see if a site has a credible link network. One of the ways that you can do this is you can type in into Google, Yahoo, and MSN link, L-I-N-K, colon and then the URL, whether that's www.url.com or whatever the page is. You can identify all the sites that are linking to that particular page. Also of importance is looking at what are determined to be non-commercial domains. That's the .gov, .mil, .edu. And there's a slight skewing in the significance of these URLs because they are seen as unbiased and versus commercial versus the .coms and the .nets, and to a lesser extent the .orgs. But if you have a product or service that you cater to government, military, or education, it's worth talking to these partners of yours and seeing if they will place a link to your site, because it will be, certainly not everybody will, but if you can get a few, it can set you apart from your competition. Also look at your vendors and partners that you do business with. The key when link building is to have these sites coming in from other sites that cater to the same type of audience. Again, it's a vote of confidence in your site, and certainly well worth the effort. And then finishing up this particular slide, you've probably seen these ads. I pulled an example of one that Google is still happy to take their money, although they don't benefit you from purchasing these types of services, but you've seen them before. The get 1,000 links for $29.95. If you see these offers, run. Do not pursue them. They are not good links, regardless of how compelling the offer may seem. And if you've maybe been naive in the past and executed a deal with one of these companies, see if you can go about and determine what links are truly valuable, and if those that are not valuable, see if you can break the link and just have your link removed. Poor links from link farms or paid for links are not going to help. Really, we're looking at, again, links that are from credible sources that have viable traffic pointing to you and acting as a vote of confidence, again, in your site by others in your vertical. So content distribution. Widgets are a way that you can distribute high-value content very broadly. We've got an example here from one of our clients, PayScale, and we can't take credit for this, but they have a very strong aptitude for developing content and distributing it. And what the benefit is not only are you delivering high-value content across the web to a variety of users, but the widgets will include a link back to your site. And in this case, they provide salary information. So on probably thousands of sites that may employ this widget to a relevant audience, maybe a job-seeking audience, it includes that link back. And again, it's a vote of confidence in the eyes of the search engine algorithms that PayScale has good quality content. And we've seen the proof that they actually have had phenomenal results from this activity. Creating press releases, do so with SEO in mind. Make sure that the important keywords are included. Submit these to relevant news organizations, and make sure that you're including links and ideally keyword-rich links back to your site. If the distribution channels that accept and publish your particular press release allows the links to be followed, that'll certainly be beneficial to you. Also looking at leveraging RSS, and RSS feeds are easy ways to distribute your content to interested users or interested audiences in your particular products or services. And this will provide regular and frequent automatically updated information to them on whether it's product or corporate news, any promotions or events, or new resources that are available on the site. Again, it's very easy, and you're able to distribute a lot of content very quickly in a very efficient manner. And then finishing up here with engine and directory submissions. Back in the day when search engine optimization started, you might have called yourself a search engine marketer if you were simply submitting to directories. That's no longer the case, but there's still some value in doing so. And what is important here is that a paid link is not necessarily going to benefit you. What's important here is that when you're paying a fee, you have to understand, are you paying for the link, or in the case of the Yahoo directory, are you paying for the review and the link is not necessarily guaranteed? That's a kind of a gray area and a technicality, but that is what you need to do, is look at the fine print of the terms and conditions to see if you're actually paying for a link or you're paying for an editorial review with the potential of getting a link. That's the difference between a link that may have value and one that will not. Strictly a paid link will not have any value in your organic rankings. There's a list here. Certainly encourage you to go visit them and investigate them on your own. Not all will be appropriate for every market, but roughly if you were to do each of these, it's a little less than $1,000 a year, and to get links and to get traffic from these particular venues and sites, and I think you would find that it'd be well worth the effort. So we're starting to wrap up here. How to start your SEO project. You've decided that you've done some keyword research. It looks like it's a viable opportunity. Maybe your president has come to you and said, you know what, we need to make a push on the web, and we're going to start with SEO, and now this is your job. This is your baby. So how do you get started? Well, SEO planning. Options exist. You can pray or you can plan. Yeah, ultimately, it's your choice, but our recommendation is always to do your homework. Don't jump into it without having a plan. Get your crew in place, map out your objectives, and move forward cautiously and conservatively, but with a plan in place, rather than just spending a weekend rewriting all your meta tags and hoping that that's going to get you to the top of rankings. So, first steps: align the team. Search engine marketing, more than most of the marketing activities that I've come across in my 15 years in the business, is really crosses departments. Certainly marketing is involved, as it should be, and it should be the driver of this activity, but it's also going to involve web development, IT, product managers, product marketing, marketing communications, a lot of interested folks here. The important thing is to get everybody aligned and on the same page, outline the goals and objectives, who's responsible for what, do your keyword research as we've discussed earlier, evaluate your current site's content, look at the navigation and ways that you can improve the structure, make sure that you're able to measure the effort with an analytics package, look at recent traffic patterns to identify, are you moving up, are you moving down, is there a threat in your particular competitive space that you need to be aware of, do your link opportunity research, and again, this is online marketing, so the huge benefit is the ability to measure and analyze. So you want to baseline where you're at now, look at the results that you've been getting recently, look at some of the top competitors in your space, top direct competitors that is, and benchmark against them. Identify what they're doing well and what you need to do to be on par or even surpass them, and then go. It is an ongoing effort. It is something that is continuous effort. It's continually refined. It's sometimes you hear that SEO is free traffic. Well, you don't have the media spend associated with it as you do with pay-per-click, but it is by no means free. There's a lot of effort, a lot of ongoing effort, a lot of talented individuals that will be involved in this project, and it's really something you must do as more and more people start to look at the web as a source of information when making product and service decisions. Here's a very basic timeline. I've kept it pretty generic, but included about 8 or so activities that need to be done and how you might spread them out over 6 months if this was your timeline. Again, keep it in mind that it is an ongoing effort. That can be condensed or extended, this timeline, as needed, but that's typically a function of resources, and knowing that resources are a lot tighter now than they were 6 months ago. Just keep in mind that it's an ongoing effort. It needs to be managed, and it needs to be reported on and show your progress. It's certainly needs to be elevated within the organization about what you're doing, what the results are, and what the expectations are. So getting beyond 101, here's a list of terms that I would encourage you to look up there, certainly beyond the scope of this, as we've already gone through our 45 minutes here, but they are the next level in really digging into search engine optimization, looking at other factors that can help elevate your ranking. And if you happen to be in a very competitive space, it's some of these more nuanced activities that may make the distinction of being on the first page or not being on the first page, and the difference there is enormous. In fact, of all clicks, 70% of clicks happen on natural results. Of those, upwards of 90% happen on the first page. And there's some debate, but arguably, if you're not on the first page or two, you might as well be invisible, because no one else is looking beyond those pages. People are refining their queries rather than digging deeper into their search results. So some SEO resources. Where to find good sources of information? Well, for some general SEO news, Search Engine Land, Search Engine Watch, and iMedia Connection in their SEO department are great sources. A lot of good contributing authors there. The blogs, I'd say, probably the best source of information because they are so timely and up to date, and lots of great contributing threads going on there that are great to follow. Rand Fishkin at SEO Moz has got a great community that they've developed, well worth the, I think it's about $80 a month to get access to their tools and premium content. Sempo.org is the search engine marketing professional organization, and their website is also chock full of good industry association information. Have a good educational resources as well. And then the SEO tools, I mentioned earlier that we would include the links to the tools mentioned, and they are located here. So this is a previously recorded version of our webinar that was put on early in January, and we had a couple of questions that came up, and I'd like to answer those now. One question that came up was in regards to the keyword meta tag and whether or not that was still an important piece of data to optimize for. And the short answer is no. Some time ago, in the early stages of search engine optimization, the keyword meta tag field was used to insert keywords that were descriptive of that particular web page, your product, services. It became abused and really fell out of favor by the engine's algorithm. Google, I don't think, gives very much weight to it at all. Yahoo does a little bit. So you have to gauge your effort. If you have limited resources, you may not want to take the time to optimize your keyword tags for Yahoo. But if you have the time, or just not a priority, feel free to go back and update these and insert relevant terms. But it's not going to be the determinant of a first page listing or not. Another question we got was, if you could select one tool, what would it be? Well, as you probably got a good indication here that there's many tools available online, many free, many trials and demos, and our suggestion was to try a couple of them and get comfortable, and then choose one that you feel most comfortable with. Narrowing it down to one, when it comes to bang for the buck, Google has tools that are free, but they could certainly have some greater depth. I like what SEO Moz is doing. It's a subscription-based content and access to tools. I think for an individual it runs about $79 a month, and not only do you get I think 10 or 12 tools to use for optimizing your optimizing activities, but it's also the ability to follow along with some of the expert content that they have available. So for 79, 80 bucks a month, my choice would be SEO Moz as my tool choice. And then we had a final question, and that was any recommended books to get up to date on SEO? And in short, the answer was don't get a book. If it was published in paper, it's old and out of date. This is a very dynamic industry. Things are changing frequently, and the best source of information is the blogs. Follow the blogs. Much like the tools, there's a wide variety of them. So find one that you like, become a participant, and follow the blogs. In return, there are some good books out there, but these focus more on general web design and usability, and there are a couple books I would like to call out here. One is by Steve Krug. That's Krug with a K, R-U-G, and it's called Don't Make Me Think. That's a great book about usability, done with a lot of pictures, a lot of just common sense diagrams, and it's a fantastic book to really streamline the website usability exercises. And then for developing good quality content that can stimulate action of your audience, the Eisenberg brothers have developed or have written a book called Call to Action. And lastly, a book specifically on landing page optimization and developing landing pages that really they act as direct response mechanisms to when you've got somebody on a page, you want them to do something, and a very scientific but easily digestible approach to landing page optimization. And the author there is Tim Ash. At the end of this particular presentation deck, we've included an appendix of additional pieces of information that you will find relevant. And for these particular books, we've included links to Amazon if you want to read the reviews and possibly purchase them. So this wraps up our webinar. We have another webinar coming up in February about integrating email and search marketing, but I appreciate your time. I hope that you found it valuable, and if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to call us. My information is included in this deck, and you can contact me directly. Thank you very much.